All right, everyone. I think we are ready to get started. Thank you for joining us on this webinar. We're going to jump right into it. First, thanks. We got a tremendous amount of registrants for this webinar. I think we had over 140 people sign up. So thank you for spending some time with us today. We're going to talk about T&M tickets. So the title of this webinar is How to Create, Sign, and Price a T&M Ticket in Less Than 5 Minutes. So we're going to jump into it soon. First, want to introduce ourselves. My name is Cameron Page. I'm the founder and CEO of Clearstory. My background is commercial construction. I was a general contractor for about 9 years and lived the pain of surprise T&M tickets and change order requests late in projects that wreaked havoc on my budget. So big, one of the many parts of Clearstory is really focused around optimizing the T&M process. And I will kick it over to my awesome co-host here, Alexis. Alexis, you want to give a quick intro on yourself?
Sure, thank you. I am Alexis Morgan. I am a customer success manager at Clearstory. I've been with Clearstory for about 3.5 years. I manage specialty contractors and a handful of our enterprise specialty contractors as well. And before Clearstory, I worked for a fire sprinkler contractor. So that is a great thing about working with Clearstory is a lot of us do come with that construction industry experience.
Awesome. Yeah, time flies, 3.5 years.
I know, just over.
All right, well, let's jump into the agenda. We'll walk you guys through what we're going to cover today. So introductions, we've gotten out of the way. We're really going to focus on this workflow and how to speed up the creation, signature, and pricing of T&M tickets. But because we have everyone here, we thought it'd be a good opportunity to quickly give you guys an overview of what Clearstory is all about from a really high level. We're going to focus on one part of our software today. And we also have, looking at the registrant list, we also have a lot of general contractors in the audience. So this will be somewhat specialty contractor focused. However, this process greatly impacts general contractors. So want to give everyone an overview on that. We'll talk about sort of like what the common challenges are in the industry and really focus on like why speed in this process does matter a lot. Then we'll give you sort of a step-by-step workflow of, in a slide view of like what Alexis is going to demo. And then I'll kick it over to Alexis for the 5-minute demo. I'll pull open a fake shot clock and we'll go through it. I think the cool part is we'll be able to really add context along the way to show you guys how the tool works. And then we'll kick it over to Q&A. And I also don't want to forget, we will announce the winner of the Yeti cooler as well, I think right at the end. If you do need to hop off early, we won't be offended. We will send out like a follow-up recording of this webinar as well, so anyone can see it. And with that, we'll kind of get into it. So first, Clearstory, we call ourselves a change order communication and workflow tool, but we're really purpose-built for all stakeholders. So specialty contractors can deploy our software across their entire company and use our workflows to help surface costs faster, manage change orders, communicate upstream with their general contractor. General contractors can use our software to capture all their downstream change order risk with their trade partners and really create trust and alignment to make sure both parties know what's outstanding. And then they can also use this upstream with their clients as the owner customer facing change order log as well. And we work with companies of all shapes and sizes. So large specialty contractors in every trade vertical, but really we have a ton of small mom and pop specialty contractors as well. So don't feel like this is a tool and a workflow that's only built for the big guys. Like a lot of our customer base is small companies who deal with the same challenge as well. So our simple point of view on the industry is when projects can capture and close T&M tickets, change orders faster, all stakeholders win. Specialty contractors can accelerate their cash flow, get paid faster, general contractors can reduce their risk, and owners can make better value-based decisions on their projects with their general contractors. So I think everyone would agree that we want that outcome on projects. We don't want to get to the end of the job and have a bunch of change orders outstanding, but often that still is the case. And why that happens is what we call the change order gap, which is really the gap in communication between companies. Everyone has their project financial software and tool sets they use to track out of contract work, but they're all siloed, right? And so a lot of the workflow happens outside of those systems through change order logs that get emailed back and forth, paper T&M tickets that get signed out on the job site, email review correspondence, manually pricing up change order requests. And really that delay in the process leads to a lot of the negative outcomes. So really what Clearstory does is focus on surfacing the things that happen in the gap faster so that all parties can get that information into their system of record and ensure they're forecasting the changes that are happening on the project in near real time. And obviously one of those big workflows is T&M work out on the job site, and we'll focus on that today. So with Clearstory, we kind of become that middle layer where companies can align and communicate on what's outstanding. And again, I really want to stress, specialty contractors, if you're on here, you can use Clearstory across all your projects, regardless of whether or not your GC is in the Clearstory network and using it. But if your GC is also a customer of Clearstory, they can log in and see what you sent them in real time. They can ask questions on the review process, and you can accelerate that back and forth that happens. And so with that in mind, we're going to kind of shift the conversation to really focus on the T&M workflow, which if you've joined the webinar today, you might be dealing with some of the common challenges around the workflow today. Obviously, there's a lot going on in this slide, but there's really an amazing amount of manual work that typically goes into a T&M ticket being filled out on the job site, getting signed, and getting back to the home office, priced, sent to the general contractor. So you may be doing every single one of these steps, or you may be doing a subset of them. But this is really what Clearstory streamlines. So it all starts when the GC directs T&M work on the job site. Ideally, you get a PCO tracking number or something where you can align on the GC where to track the work. You perform the work. The foreman fills out. Traditionally, most companies still do triplicate carbon copy paper. Some companies will do a manual, or not a manual, but a fillable PDF form on a tablet. Then they've got to find the superintendent on the job site. They've got to review the T&M ticket together, go back and forth. Sometimes there's changes that need to be made, get that signed, whether they take a picture of it, email it back to the office, or they often wind up driving it back to the office. You then got to scan those files or save them to a file folder. And all that is just to get to the point where you need to price the T&M ticket. T&M tickets in the industry, for a very important reason, don't have pricing on them, right? We don't want the teams in the field agreeing on changes in price. We're having them validate the quantity and scope of work performed. So the next step is then, of course, pricing the T&M tickets, which most companies do in Excel. Some companies do in their project financial software, but it usually involves scanning the quantities of labor, material, equipment that were filled out on that rate or on that T&M ticket, transcribing those into a pricing workbook, PDFing that, saving it to a file folder, stitching all the backup documentation together, saving that again, and then finally emailing it to the general contractor with the pricing attached to it. And usually that's where the visibility for the project manager on the general contractor side begins. So all of that work was done up front. The GC still doesn't understand, the cost exposure on the work that was performed. Then, of course, there's the review and approval process. Sometimes there's revisions that need to be had. And then ultimately you get a change order approved with a CO issued, goes into the next billing. Then you got to wait for the payment cycle. And then finally you get paid for the work that you performed and paid the crews for way back here. And so it's a very manual process that requires a ton of team input. And because of that, we often see this process taking a very long time. A few years ago, we ran a survey and did a bunch of research, and we analyzed, all the data we had from signed paper tickets, the date they were signed to the date the change order request was sent to the general contractor. And in that data set, we found it was like an average of 30 days to get a T&M ticket priced. But if we're all being honest with each other, I've been in situations where my superintendent signed T&M tickets and I don't get the pricing back for 6 months or for 9 months. And that can cause a huge strain on the relationship, even though no one intentionally did anything nefarious. It's easy to fall behind on this process, but it puts the general contractor in a really challenging spot to go figure out how to go get reimbursed for that work. The longer it waits in the project, the more the GC has drawn down allowances or contingencies. And so they either need to go back to the owner or figure out a way to cover the costs. And the longer that duration is, the harder that process is. So really want to focus on, before we jump into the demo, like why faster pricing matters. And there's a couple of like categories that we sort of put this into. For specialty contractors, it's about, a big part of this is about accelerating cash flow. When you perform T&M work on a job site, the work that crew is doing is recorded on a time card that goes into a payroll, and you are paying upfront for the work done. And it is now your job to go process that documentation, get it to the general contractor, have them review and approve it, issue a change order, and then you can finally bill for it. So from a cash flow perspective, it can have a huge strain on a job. If you have a $100,000 contract and you can bill for that every month, you can predict when you're going to get paid. But if you do $50,000 of extra work on T&M, that predictability really goes out the window, and it can really impact subcontractors' cash flow. So the big thing we say is, the faster you process things, the faster the shorter the review cycle usually is, and then the faster you can get that work into the next billing cycle. The next one here is, increased transparency. If you want to deliver good value to your general contractor, the faster you can communicate to them what things are costing, the better they can see that risk exposure, and that leads to faster decision making. So if if you're going to be working for the next 10 weeks on overtime, and week 1 costs $20,000, the general contractor might change course and say, "Oh, that's actually going to cost $200,000. We need to rethink the value of this overtime." But often what happens is they do all the overtime and they get to the end of the 10 weeks and you get a bill for $200,000. It doesn't give them that proactive ability to change course and make different decisions. And that can impact their relationship with their client as well. So another just big reason why speed matters. Faster review cycles, I mentioned this. We've done a lot of research. The faster you can get pricing in front of your general contractor, you will see a reduction in days aging on the change order requests because the work is fresh in their mind. They have the ability to get it approved in a number of different ways. And the longer it waits, it's less fresh in their mind, and they may run out of ways to pay for it. One of the byproducts of automating the workflow too is better documentation. Because the Clearstory workflow is all digital, every T&M ticket looks exactly the same. You can take photos of your work, and you're really presenting a better end product to your GC customer. And that GC customer is therefore presenting a better product to their client. And their client can then review that documentation much, much faster. And the last part is just reporting and insights. Because you're capturing the data through Clearstory, we have a bunch of reporting in our software, such as weekly labor hour reporting. You can see it in a graph and a chart. We have days aging reporting, so you can see how long change orders are aging, and a whole lot more with our customer and contractor insights. So with that, I'll walk you guys through the workflow, and then I'll kick it over to you, Alexis, and we can jump into the demo. For this workflow, I am going to talk about maybe a little bit more broadly of how Clearstory works, and then I'll click through a couple steps to show you guys the T&M workflow of what Alexis will go through. So the really cool thing about Clearstory is you don't have to use our T&M workflow to get a ton of value out of our software. Really, the core of our software is our cloud-based change order log. So every time you simply upload a PDF you've created of a change order request and send it through Clearstory, we automatically log it in a shareable cloud-based change order log. So when a general contractor asks for your latest change order log, you don't have to go back to an Excel template or an export from your financial software. You just simply send them a link to Clearstory's change order log. It'll always be up to date. You can organize the columns however you want. But more importantly, the general contractor will have every change order document linked to that cloud-based change order log. So there's never any back and forth on, "Oh, I never saw this change order," or, you didn't send this to me. It's all there, all in one spot. And by doing that, we have a bunch of reporting in our software. So you, across your whole company, can see change orders, every project's change order log with their general contractor, and use that to compare to what you're forecasting internally in your project financial software. And then on top of that, we have a bunch of reporting in our software to give you guys other visuals on project health and things like that. So you can get started with Clearstory in 15 minutes if you guys really wanted to. And Alexis here could actually help you guys get onboarded. And then on top of that, there's other workflows you can leverage within Clearstory. So the first one I'll jump to is the mobile app for T&M work. So one of our core values is keep it simple. We have a really easy to use mobile app to track labor, material, equipment. It automatically generates a PDF T&M ticket that can either be signed directly on the device, or we have a digital signature workflow where you can email the T&M ticket to a superintendent. You can send it to multiple people. And once they sign it, it automatically gets routed just like DocuSign to all parties once it's been signed. From there, though, we have a T&M log back in the home office. So the second a foreman creates a T&M ticket, the back office has visibility into that T&M ticket and can see it all the way through. So you no longer have to manually track a T&M log or anything like that on every project. We automatically do that. And in that T&M log, we have a bunch of important data related to that T&M ticket. One of those is, has there been a change order created for this T&M ticket? And so if it says pending COR, we have a workflow where if you have your labor, material, equipment rates imported into our system, and even if you don't, you can still click on one or multiple T&M tags and automatically convert those into a change order request. And that's part of the workflow that Alexis will walk you guys through today. We automatically create the PDF package of that change order request, automatically attach all the backup docs. You guys can add things to it, attach additional supporting files. But then as soon as you click submit, it gets emailed to your general contractor and it gets added to your change order log in Clearstory. So what used to take a long time can be done in just a matter of 5 minutes. And with that, I will kick it over to you, Alexis, for the demo.
Awesome, thank you. And I will share my screen. All right, so you guys can see I have the mobile app here right in front, and I have the Clearstory web browser right behind. So I'll start in the mobile app here. So what we're looking at right now is all of my T&M tickets that I have for the projects that I am on as a foreman or a field user. You can see all the different statuses here. We have awaiting signature, sign, draft status. And again, this is everything that you can see in the office as a PM or anybody in the office setting. There are two ways. Actually, I want to back up. I want to show you guys what the T&M tag actually looks like. So I'll just click into one of these and show you the PDF version. So you can zoom in. We have project details. You guys will have a much nicer logo than I have here. But we have all of our quantities, labor, material, our signatures, and then photos. So a nice thing here is our photos are also date and time stamped. So two ways to create those T&M tags. We can create one from scratch. So on the bottom right, that create new tag. You guys will walk through these steps here, selecting our project, giving it a quick title, description of work, customer reference number. So if you guys have a PCO number or anything like that, add photos. And then we have a 5-step process to quickly add labor, material, and equipment. For this demo, I am just going to create a copy. So this is often used if we're doing the same work over and over again, overtime work, things like that. So I am going to create a copy here. It will copy my project information, my title, my description of work. I can edit and remove or change anything if I need to at this point. I'll add a photo here. Just going to take a quick picture of my desktop. You guys can add up to 50 photos and documents for each T&M tag. So now you guys have additional backup documentation for all of those tags. I am pulling my labor from my copy, but I can still add labor if I need to. So if I need to add another foreman to this one, I will have this nice drop down here with workers or classifications that are set up in my office for me. So the field just has to select which one best applies. Adding hours. Same thing with material, equipment, and then any other miscellaneous rates here. Next, we get to our signatures. So first signature is going to be my signature, or in the field. Basically, we're just signing off on our own work here. So I'm just going to tap to sign. And then with signatures, we have two options. We can receive our signatures right on the device. I can hand my phone or my iPad over and have my super or whoever from my GC sign off on this T&M tag right away. Or I can request signatures via email. So if I'm doing overtime or overnight work and no one's there, but I'm done, I can still send that signature out for, or that request for my signature, and then they can sign it and review it on their own time. So for this, I will sign it right on the device. There is a spot for customer notes. So I often get the question, what about the stamp? Or, they want to verify hours only, verify quantities only. They can still put whatever notes that they would like there. And then last step, I'm going to submit this signed tag. So this is sending an email out to everybody within my company that needs a copy. It's sending an email out to all of my customers that are set up that needs a copy. And then it is automatically updating my T&M log for me on within the office or on the web browser here. So I'm going to switch over. This is the T&M log that Cam mentioned earlier. So if you guys are currently using paper, imagine all of those stacks of paper that are all over on all the different desks all in one place. You can filter by different projects. You can track your hours here and the different signed statuses, draft statuses, things like that. I can track how many T&M tags I have on this one project. And then I'm just going to refresh and show that tag that I just created, which is right here. As Cam mentioned, that COR number, these are all pending, so these all still need to be priced. And then my actual CORs here, these ones are priced out for me. My different tag statuses, so my signed status, I mentioned that awaiting signature, that one's requested via email, and then draft. So as a PM or anybody in the office, you can see those T&M tags being created in real time. I'm not wondering where papers are and things like that. So pricing out these T&M tags, you can bundle T&M tags, so multiple tags onto one COR, or you can price them at one at a time. For this example, I am going to bundle two together. And now my pricing, it's just going to take basically a minute and double checking everything. Automatically grabbing my next COR number. You guys can see all of the T&M tags that are linked to this COR. I can add a customer reference number here. I'm just going to add PCO number 9. It will grab a title from one of my tags. I can change this if I need to. Again, I can edit, add, or remove anything at this point. It's grabbing all of my descriptions for my T&M tags. Same thing with my labor. So it's pulling all of my rates that I have set up on the project. So no more having to go to those different templates and pull that information manually. I can also change the hours if I need to. That's often a question if I need to make changes for my T&M tags. Material, I can still add things. So let's say we're missing a piece of material here. I can still add that if I need to. Automatically pricing. And then scrolling down, we have markups. So any taxes, markups on material, maybe labor markups, overhead and profit, things like that. Those are set up on your project as well and also auto-populate for you. Now we have all of my backup documentation. So I have my signed T&M tags. I can still add additional documentation, any job site specific forms. I'll add them at that point, automatically putting my emails here for my customer and anybody within my company. And now we are going to preview and send. So this will generate a PDF version for us, basically just a double checkpoint here. But this will show you the actual PDF version of the COR, all of my pricing, and all of my backup documentation here. And then we are going to submit. So again, this is automatically updating my COR log for me. No more having to dig through those separate Excel files, manually enter that information. It is all generated immediately. And
All
that's
right. Awesome, Alexis. I do want to be fair. I do think we went a minute or two over 5 minutes, but we also added a lot of context along the way. So when you guys are doing this workflow yourselves, like you can do it in 2 minutes or 3 minutes. But great job, Alexis. And with that, there's a bunch more we can show, obviously. And I think if you guys do want to learn more about this workflow or about Clearstory, reach out to our team. Most of our people that you'll talk to come from the industry and are really knowledgeable and can answer questions. And with that, I think we will kick it over to questions. And feel free to email us questions after the fact too. But couple questions that came in. Devin, thank you for asking two here. Question is the PDF that is automatically generated able to be customized at all, or do they always print in the same format, just a different company logo on it? The really short answer is yes, with some caveats. There's ways you can set up your rates and your descriptions and things like that that'll make it look a little more customized. But the general format is what we like offer out of the box. We are working on a functionality to with a lot of our contractors who do a lot of DOT work, for example, or other federal or private work where a certain form is required. We are working on a way to automatically generate those forms, just to make it easier working with those different entities. So that is something that's coming. And then the other question was, do you find that subcontractors use the COR log function a lot more than GCs? I would say it's pretty widely adopted by both. Our customer base is about 75% specialty contractors, 25% general contractors, which is just kind of how the industry is. The GCs, that's like the core use case of the software, is you automatically create a subcontractor COR log for every single contract. And then on the subcontractor side, it's varying use cases, but the ability to see all your GC change order logs in one spot is super valuable. Next question from Joshua Hamilton. For each project, are you able to set up different standard wage costs and material costs? Yes. So the way rates work is on the company level or office level, you can set up rate groups, and those groups can automatically be assigned or applied to a given project. And then on an individual project level, you can override those rates and import something that's customer one-off. So every project can have their same or their unique labor, material, equipment rates, and change order markup rates. Good question. Then next question is, can we use a laptop in the field rather than the mobile app? And yes, so Alexis showed the Create COR page. There is also a Create T&M tag page in the web application. So if you're on a laptop, you can certainly create that in the field as long as you have Wi-Fi connectivity for the laptop. For mobile, actually, we do support offline mode. So if you are working on like a remote job site, you can create the tag, get it signed on the device. You just have to wait till you reconnect in order to email it out. Is this training/webinar available in Spanish? The webinar, no. Maybe there's a cool AI tool we can use to translate it. Alexis, what are some of the things we do in customer success to support Spanish speaking?
Yeah, so we do have a video on how to use the mobile app that is fully in Spanish. And usually I'll send that out if anyone needs help with that.
Yep. Victor Avalar, are you able to disable the secondary verification signature? Yeah, so a lot of companies have workflows where like the tag doesn't need to be signed. You can flag that off within your account, in case, so you can just automatically roll it into a change order request. Do you hear much about field users not agreeing to sign these digitally without approval from the PM? That's a good question. Just want to make sure I understand it correctly. So a couple of things on that. So like, great question. And I mean, honestly, when I started the company 7 years ago, that was one of my concerns is like, our superintendents, I worked with many superintendents, are they going to be willing to sign digitally? And we have just not seen that as an issue. And on the project manager part, Clearstory is really powerful, right? Because you can make sure the project manager knows about every ticket that the superintendent is signing. And there's two ways to do that. One is just to simply include that project manager on the sign tag distribution list. So the second their foreman signs a ticket, they get emailed a copy of the T&M tag. What you can also do, and actually some of our GC customers use our software this way, is they require two signatures. So they require the superintendent sign and the project manager countersign. So there's a lot of ways we can add that layer of visibility, and that really is the goal of Clearstory. Jennifer Clapper, our markups are compounded for overhead and profit, but Clearstory does not support that. I was advised by our Clearstory rep to simply use a lump sum markup. Are custom markups in the works? Yes, Jennifer, thank you for asking that. Not sure if you are a current customer or not, but as you'll see, we just launched like a whole new version of the Create COR page. And we did that because we wanted to, it was 7 years old. So we wanted to really get it updated. And it's way faster now, way more performant. And now the next step is we're going to add a lot of that functionality into it. So more complex calculations on the change order requests are coming here soon. So you heard it from me, not just the customer success rep. Does the offline mode automatically update once service is available, or do we need to turn off offline mode as well? That's a great question. I think it does. Alexis, do you know?
Yep. So as soon as you hit Wi-Fi or cellular service, it'll automatically update.
Yep. And I believe it does send you, it does like show you in the app if you are offline. Like there's a little header at the top that tells you.
Yep.
Last question. My foreman, kind of a classic question. My foremen aren't super tech savvy. What's the typical adoption curve in the field? Alexis, why don't you answer that?
Yes, this is a very common and one of my favorite questions. It's really easy, and that's not just, because I work here and I always say that. And usually once I get in the room with everybody, they say the same. You guys saw the mobile app. It's very intuitive. You kind of self-direct from that. And what I do is I typically do about a 30-minute training, and it takes me about 5 minutes to actually show the mobile app. And by the end, everyone's like, oh, wow, that's much easier than I thought it was going to be. So it's quicker than you would think. And it's very easy to use, even for people who aren't tech savvy and barely know how to use their iPhones, I promise.
Yeah. Keep it simple is one of our company core values, and it's built into the app. One of my favorite stories too is we work with one of the largest concrete contractors in California, and they got exposed to Clearstory from one of their general contractors, and they saw the pricing workflow, wanted to explore it internally, and that was their objection. They're like, we're just concerned that our foremen aren't going to be able to learn the mobile app. And they decided to do this. They said, we are going to take this to our most old school foreman, and if he can use it, then we're in. And so obviously we were a bit nervous. That gentleman used it, loved it, and he's actually become like a really great advocate for us. So I would encourage any of you guys to maybe try the same pilot process. Are changes / corrections to descriptions, materials, time made by the signer shown differently than originally input by the ticket creator? Are changes / corrections to descriptions by the signer shown differently than originally input by the ticket creator? So it's a good question. I was just reading it twice to make sure I understood it, but we're pretty like strict. Once it's signed, it's in order to change it, you have to create a new version. So like we treat signed documents very seriously, and once the signature request is sent, also it doesn't change either. So I think that's what that question's asking. And then on the change order side too, same concept. Like we have really tight version control. So if the GC asks for a revision, you click submit, you click create revision in our software, you edit the change order request, submit the revision, and we keep track of all the version history of that change order request. So you can always go back in time. How often do tags sent through Clearstory go to the customer's spam? Alexis, do you want to take that?
That has to do with the customers, their email domains and how those are managed. That doesn't necessarily come from our end. Some customers have very strict email blocks and things like that. But once we do identify that, we usually just reach out to the customer and we loop in their IT and get that all cleared out. They can unblock that or whitelist our domain.
But to be clear, like it happens pretty rarely. Like there's tens of thousands of signature requests that get sent out every month in Clearstory, and that support, like our email domain is what matters, right? And we get that pretty rarely. Is there a way to automatically send T&M logs to GCs of outstanding T&Ms that still need to be signed without having to manually send the GC a link? We don't do it automatically. It's a request we've gotten a lot. We just want to be mindful of like spamming your customers with automatic emails. And so we do have easy ways to like automatically resend something for signature. And there's recommended workflows we have on how to do that. But we have been we've heard there's a lot of systems in the industry that send out a lot of emails and it becomes white noise. So we've taken, I guess, more of a cautious approach to that. But it is something that I do think we'll figure out maybe an even better solution for. But to be clear, yeah, you can send them a shareable link to the T&M log. From the T&M log inside of Clearstory, you can click a button and it'll send a reminder email. So there is a lot of ways to do that. Can tags sent through the system be CC'd to anyone or just users entered into the project settings? I believe they can be CC'd to anyone. They don't have to be on the project. We have an additional signer setting. So like if an inspector needs to sign, you can add them as an additional signer. And I think you can do that as well.
You can manually enter emails, yes.
Yeah. What is the biggest difference between Clearstory and Pure Assist? That's a good question. I mean, we're certainly familiar with Pure Assist. I think the main difference is like Clearstory is a network. So you can invite your general contractor to a project in Clearstory, or the GC can invite you. And I think Pure Assist is maybe more focused on the specialty contractor workflow. But I don't know a ton about the product to really tell you the key differences. Does the receipt of a signature request need to have the app sign and return? Does the recipient of the signature request need to have? No. So just like DocuSign, it's like you don't need to be a DocuSign user to sign something in DocuSign. They just simply get an email with a link to view the tag. They can sign it and move on with their life. If they do want to download the Clearstory mobile app, they can see a list of all the signed T&M tickets they've had, just like DocuSign. So it's a really similar workflow to that. That was a lot of great questions. We tried to answer them very fast because I know we're 8 minutes over time, but anyone who's still around, we really appreciate you asking all these great questions. And we're happy to answer more because I'm sure, we intentionally went fast with to stay in line with the title of the webinar, how to do it in 5 minutes. But there's a lot more, we can demo to you guys if you guys are curious about learning more. And with that, I will actually attempt to reshare my screen and just leave you guys with just one quick thing. Sorry, this is a little ghetto here. So we do offer a pilot process for specialty contractors. We'll give you a free 4-week access if you guys want to try it. We just want to make sure that the right stakeholders are involved. It might even be Alexis, but someone like Alexis will be there to help kind of guide you guys through the pilot. We can create test projects. You can use it on a live project if you want. We'll do a check-in call to answer questions. And we even have like an ROI calculator where we can help you guys calculate the return on investment with Clearstory. And then same thing for onboarding. Like you can truly roll out Clearstory as fast as you want. But we do kind of have a prescribed process for helping you guys develop a standard operating procedure around Clearstory, getting the right team members trained, doing a project management training and a field user training. And we're super hands-on. We try to be super hands-on with all of our customers. So if you guys do want to do a pilot or get going and roll it out, you'll be working with someone like Alexis, and it's really easy to roll out. This is not a giant lift to get onboarded at your company. And with that, the last housekeeping item, I don't want to forget, we have a Yeti box, our Yeti job box, it's called winner, which is Rich Keller, who is with McGraw and Coco Singh, or McGraw Coco Singh. I'm not sure if that's a joint venture or, but congratulations. We'll shoot you an email and send you a follow-up on how to get the Yeti cooler to you. So it's exciting. Congrats on that. And with that, I think we'll wrap everything up. Thank you all for attending, and we will send out the recording here soon, and hope you guys have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.